So, based on the content of that intro, it's probably not that much of a surprise what this video is going to be about today. So, it's about a recent purchase that I made of a coin, and I just wanted to I thought it was something a bit different, so I put a bit of effort into doing some background research, and I'm going to talk about why I bought this coin and why I think it's important to make sure that your portfolio, if possible, isn't completely bullion. So let's talk about the shipwreck coin from the Douro. So the lavishly fitted Douro was considered to be the shining star of the transatlantic lines right up until her 62nd and final voyage between Brazil and England in 1882. She was owned by the Royal Mail Steam Packet Company, and she was a very slender iron crew steamer, distinguishable by her graceful clipper bow and two brigantine rigged auxiliary masts. She was built in 1865 at the shipyards of Caird Co on the River Clyde in Greenock, Scotland, and she measured 326 feet long and 40 feet wide, with a gross tonnage of 2.824 tons. Now, the shipwreck occurred on the final leg of what was to be her last ever voyage, and she was only 2 days out from Southampton, and late into the evening of the 1st of April she passed a Finisterre, having called into Lisbon, and she was steaming north towards England. A passenger, Mr. Stour, who was taking some fresh air before retiring for bed, spotted a light at the starboard bow, and Stour pointed out this light to Mr. Artiev, the fourth officer, who identified it as a ship, but one at least 2 miles away, and confident that the chief officer on the bridge was keeping watch, he took no action. But the chief officer saw that light a little bit too late to avoid the collision, and when it came, it was catastrophic. The Yrurac Bat, a Spanish passenger liner out of Corunna, en route to Havana, ploughed into the starboard side of the Douro in the area of the main mast, and the impact was such that the Yrurac Bat rebounded off, and then the momentum of her engines immediately took her forward again and smashed the Douro a second time in the area of the aft. The Douro's engines were stopped everywhere, and there was pandemonium. The passengers, who had been asleep, ran this way and that, and none knowing which lifeboat they should report to. Further time was lost when the mechanism to detach the lifeboats from their hangars jammed, and no one had a knife to cut the boats free. The rule of women and children first was strictly adhered to, and thus the ship sunk very quickly to the seabed, where it remained for a long time. The search for the Douro shipwreck began in 1949 with a cryptic note written by Thomas Pickford, the project researcher's father. It simply read, Douro, 1882, 53,000, Bay of Biscay. And 30 years later, Nigel Pickford rediscovered this note and decided to develop the research to find out what it meant. And 10 years into that research, after looking at old newspaper articles and logbooks and company directors' reports, Lloyd's registers, ship's drawings, personal records, bank records, ancient records, sea charts, Pickford was able to put forward a project to Sverker Hallström, a marine salvage specialist, as a viable salvage opportunity in the summer of 1992. At that time, the cargo of gold had never been recovered from inside a collapsed and rusting hull, and the depth of water this deep, which was approximately 1,500 feet. It was an extremely bold undertaking for this time. By means of careful analysis of various conflicting statements of witnesses and survivors, combined with the detailed calculations of the ship's speeds, routes, times and departures, the initial search of the area, 500 square miles, was reduced to 150 square miles. And any prior salvage was highly unlikely due to the water depth. So the search continued, and Hallström left the Swedish naval base of Berga on his survey vessel the Benjamin, on the 4th of June 1993. He was equipped with a state-of-the-art survey vessel, and the yacht included a scan sonar, sector scanning sonar, and a Scorpio ROV, remotely operated vehicle, with colour cameras attached to hydroacoustic referencing systems, as well as a variety of transponders. Extremely high tech for the time. And the survey continued for another 2 years, during which an alarming number of other wrecks were discovered in the Victorian steamship era. Deciding which of them was the Douro was going to be extremely difficult. But Hallstrom finally succeeded in identifying the Douro in May 1995, and he negotiated a salvage agreement for the provision of the deep sea worker and the grab salvage system developed by Blue Water Recoveries Limited. Only 5 days after commencing the salvage operation, the grab had recovered 98% of the bullion cargo from over 400 metres deep from the bullion room in the aft section of the ship. There were 28,000 gold and silver coins featuring an unprecedented range and variety of gold sovereigns. They were all brought to the surface. So after 113 years, the treasure of the Douro finally made it to England, where it was auctioned. It spinks, and somebody bought it, and I've ended up with one of these coins. And yeah, I'm quite chuffed with this purchase. The reason I wanted to acquire a coin from a shipwreck, and it's become my new, what should I say, it's a hobby. I've definitely acquired a taste for this kind of numismatic coin, and the reason is because the way I see it is obviously something like this has got a story to it. There's only so many of them, and there's no way that something like this can be really replicated or produced, or obviously that's, you know, it's of a time, it's got a history and a story to it, and the sheer hell and effort and time and resources that went in to recover this coin so it could be in my hand now is insane. So obviously we've got the bullion value of the gold, but I'm not really interested in that. I just wanted to own something that was obviously over and above and beyond just your bog standard bullion coin. If we just want bullion, you know, we can just buy any old gold sovereign. Yeah, but as you know, this is fine, nothing wrong with this. But this just to me is something which, you know, should go up in value quite significantly in the next 10 to 20 years. And I actually just like it just as a purchase for myself. It's like I said, I have like 5% of my purchases just for me. I don't really care whether anybody else likes it or thinks it was a good buy, or, you know, I like things I've realised that have a story to them. It's quite difficult to find things like that. And the reason if you hunt around, you can find these coins, and some of them aren't encapsulated. There's not a chance in hell I would buy any kind of shipwreck coin that hadn't been through in NGC, because you just don't know what you're buying. You know, I could just get any old sovereign and say, oh yeah, found it on a seabed. Who's really going to know, you know? You need to know that it's gone through the auction process and it's actually been recovered, and therefore it's met the criteria, and here it is. I feel that's worth paying for. And a little side story, I mean, for me to get this coin, I bought this coin from America in the middle of August. So it was still kind of, you know, coming out of lockdown. And it ended up in San Antonio, then it went to Cincinnati, Ohio, then it went to Erlanger in Kentucky, and then it ended up in London, and then it ended up in Devon in England. So basically, after being on the seabed for 113 years, going 3,000 odd miles all the way to America, I then brought it 3,000, actually I calculated it 3,949 miles all the way back from America to me, to England, which is insane really. I mean, it's, you know, but there we go. So It's just something which I do have an interest in these type of coins, I think, and I bought a few more recently, which I'll talk about in another video. I believe that coins like this will hold their value over and above significantly your bog standard sovereign. And there's nothing wrong with bog. They're two completely different things. Yeah. So if you don't really know what is the fundamental difference between a bullion and a numismatic coin, so bullion coins are generally just gold and silver coins purchased for one of three reasons: either an investment, inflation hedge, or survival end of the world. You know. And on the flip side, a numismatic coin are considered a collectible. They're not produced in modern times. It's primarily valued for its rarity, not actually for the metal content and the gold content in it, okay? I mean, generally numismatic coins are worth more than their actual metal content. So, you know, that's really in a nutshell, if you don't really know the difference between a numismatic and a bullion coin. You know, if you know nothing about coins and you're looking at this video for the first time, I would, you know, be very careful hunting around, because there are people out there that will profess to sell you something which has got some historic numismatic value that is not. I don't want to go into the company names, but there's a very well-known company that's been you know, professing that a coin is you know, used to be owned by X person or recovered from X wreck, but actually it wasn't. So you need to make sure it's probably at least slabbed and you can verify that your purchase is what it is. So yeah, it's just a sovereign. You know, not that exciting in itself, an 1864 sovereign, but it's just the story that I like behind it. So yeah, if you find these type of coins interesting, let me know. Do you think it's worth paying the premium on this? I mean, probably paid a pretty hefty premium on this, but I just felt I struggled to find many types of coin like this. I've noticed a few auctions recently and they've been snapped up. I feel like somebody, or a few people, just hoarding all these good shipwreck coins. You know, they don't seem to come on the market that much, so maybe it was a good purchase in that sense. Or maybe, you know, maybe people aren't interested in them. Okay, I mean, it's AU55. It would have been nice if it was an MS60 or something like that, but that's very hard to get. I don't know if that's asking a lot for a coin that's this old. It's a pretty good condition, but I mean, like I say, I'm not too fussed about the condition. It's more about what it means. So anyway, there we go. Leave any comments or questions on YouTube and I'll do my best to get back to you. Have a great day.